this part of you that is telling you these things, whether it's you're not good enough, you're going to fail, nobody's going to listen to you, who do you think you are? What's important to understand is that she is not saying it from a place of hurting you. She's actually saying it from a place of trying to keep you safe. I want you to be aware of the narrative. What is it that she's saying? Because when you slow things down and you actually hear the stories, really question whether or not that narrative is true.
Welcome to Marketing and Mindset for Wellness Coaches, the podcast for health coaches and wellness entrepreneurs just like you who are building a business, making the world a healthier place, and designing a first-class life. I'm your host, Kim Foster, MD and certified business coach, and I'm on a mission to help you up-level your strategy and raise your mindset so you can truly thrive and grow your business. Let's get started. Welcome back to the podcast and to the first episode of 2022. Happy New Year, my friend. I hope that you had a lovely holiday season. You know, I have to say, as much as I love Christmas, I actually love the New Year more. If I had to choose a favorite holiday, I kind of think that it's New Year's Day. I love the fresh feeling of the new year. There's so much hope and possibility. I just can't get enough of that feeling. And so to start the new year strong, I have got a guest with me who you are going to love. Because one of the best things that I think that you can do in the new year, instead of making, resolutions and buying a gym membership that you are never going to use, is to take the opportunity to be so kind to yourself and really take stock of how you're treating yourself and how you want to treat yourself going forward into the new year. So Samantha Ruberto is an absolutely lovely coach who has built a fabulous business coaching women to step into their most vibrant vision of life. So in this episode, we talk about a lot of things, and Samantha shares her story of what happened when she realized that her white picket fence was not what she was meant to be living, and the big changes that she made as a result of that realization. But one of the things that we focused on in our conversation is the inner mean girl that we all have living in our heads. We all have her, and most of us don't even realize how demanding she can be. In Samantha's opinion, and I happen to agree 100%, it is time to lovingly replace this mean girl with your inner queen. And in this episode, Samantha shares her 3 core tips for doing this. Now, before we get to our conversation, I want to mention that we are about to open the doors to enrollment in the winter 2022 class of the Wellness Coach Academy. This is my comprehensive 6-month certification program that includes everything you need to become a masterful women's wellness coach and all the business training you need to actually build your business and achieve the success you want. If you have been feeling stuck in an unfulfilling day job right now and you are super passionate about wellness and you've been craving the true freedom that comes with running your own coaching business, then I would love for you to check out my program and then join us when the next cohort begins. We only open enrollment 3 times a year, in the winter, the spring, and the fall. So if you are interested, then I don't want you to miss out. I will put the link inside the show notes, or you can just head over to wellnesscoachacademy.com right now and learn everything that you need to know. Even if you're not sure that you're completely ready, just go ahead and add your name to the waitlist. That way you will be the first to know when we actually open the doors, and there will definitely be some early bird bonuses. So just head over to wellnesscoachacademy.com and add your name to the waitlist right now. All right, that said, let's get into my conversation with Samantha. Welcome to the show, Samantha. I am so happy to have you here.
Kim, thank you for having me. I can already tell from the little bits of convo we had before this, it's going to be good.
Amazing. I agree. Totally. Yeah. So you have got such a great story, Samantha. I would love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us about the journey that you went on that brought you to the place that you're at right now. This was a literal journey and a figurative one, I think, right?
It was all of it. It was all of the above. It was fully immersed in life, and I'm more than happy to share. So for anybody listening, my name is Samantha Ruberto. I'm an intuitive mindset coach and host of the Hello Beautiful podcast. But life didn't always look this way. And for anybody, listening, I know oftentimes we can feel like we're sort of in a transition in life and we're sort of looking to different people and different things. And I think it's really, really, really important when you see somebody doing something that you're drawn to, it's like, I would love to do that. Know that there's a story where they were in your shoes too, of like the uncertainty, the confusion, the deep calling within, but not knowing what that calling looks like. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to create space for that little voice within. So if I was to take you back 6 or 7 years now, my life looked very different than it does today. I was living in my hometown, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. Shout out to T-Bay. I was living this white picket fence life, I like to say. I was checking all of society's boxes, had a beautiful home, a 5-year relationship, a very successful career in real estate, making, well over 6 figures, doing my thing. Yet something inside me just didn't feel right. So even though on the exterior, it was like, check, 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 like you should be happy, inside, there was this restlessness within that, like, it was almost as if I wasn't wearing the right life, if that makes sense.
It does.
And so that feeling stayed with me for weeks and then months. And then it just got to the point where it became so restless that I was just like, it didn't know what to do. But it felt like, I'd be laying in bed at the end of the day and I'd have my head on the pillow. And I can't even tell you how many sleepless nights, tossing and turning I had, where there was this internal battle of like, almost like I couldn't breathe. Like there's more, but I had no idea what more looked like. And then all of a sudden one day, while I was driving between real estate appointments, when you get to that point where you're driving and you're sort of zoned out, listening to music, sort of in a subconscious space, let's say. And out of the blue, this voice spoke to me and it said, your life isn't fun and your life's meant to be fun. You're 27 years old. Is this really how you want to live the rest of your life? And when I heard it, because it was almost like I felt it like a punch to my gut, like I felt it hit me. But then I heard those words crystal, crystal clear. I was like, whoa, what was that? Number one. And number two, it punched me with such an unshakable truth that I couldn't ignore it. And it's almost like, like I had said, those days, those weeks, those months, there was like signs from life that were leading to this. And I didn't necessarily know what it looked like, but then boom, in that instant, there was that download. And I was like, I can't go on. And I remember going back home that night, looking at my life and knowing like, I can't go on. I don't know what else there is, but I know this isn't it. So to kind of speed up the story, I ended up going through, a breakup, moving into my own space. And I realized, like, for anybody who's familiar with Thunder Bay, it's a city of about 100,000 people and it's surrounded by bush. So I'm like, I know what I know. And I've sort of climbed the ladder to where I was, yet there's a whole world out there, a possibility that I know nothing about. And I'm like, I want to get curious about that. So I ended up booking that January of 2015, a one-way ticket to Thailand with nothing, like no plan in place. Like I literally just bought the ticket and I'm like, I'm just going to go and be open to what life, go see what else is out there and be open to what life brings me. And that decision, that one decision, was probably at that point one of the most terrifying decisions I'd ever made in my life, because at that point I'd never been to Asia. I'd never backpacked. I'd never traveled alone. Yet it was single-handedly the best decision I had made in my life. And so it was terrifying. I remember I was flying from Vancouver on the flight to Hong Kong, and my body reacted in such a way. I was so scared that I just, like, when the wheels took off the tarmac, I just started crying. I just started shaking, crying. I'm like, I don't like physically reacting to the fear. But I had leaped. And I think the important thing to highlight is, like, I took that leap of faith, I jumped, and at that point, there was no going back. Well, that first trip led to the next, and it was magical, right? Like I went there, I was caught, I was held. I ended up making new friends and going on these incredible adventures and pushing my limits and saying yes to things that I would like never in a million years say yes to. But that journey of immersing myself in the experience of life and immersing myself, like throwing myself so far out of my comfort zone, led to such beautiful depths of growth. And so, like I was saying, that first trip led to the next. And then over a period of 5 years, I ended up traveling to over 65 countries.
Wow. Amazing.
All over the world. And yeah, and that experience of experiencing the world, not only did I learn about it, but I learned so much more about my world within. So when people are like, how did you get into what you're doing? Literally, I flung myself into the unknown. And through that experience, just peeled back the layers of who I thought I was, peeled back the layers of what society told me, or what I thought society was telling me to do. And I really deconstructed my reality in a way where it broke down to a point where I'm like, if anything is possible, what would I love to be doing? If anything was possible, what would I love to follow? What would I love to pursue? How would I love to live? Because the cool thing is that, whether I was in Colombia or Cambodia or Australia or Iceland or Morocco or Brazil, wherever it was, I had noticed there's so many different ways to live your life. There's different foods, different cultures, different religions. They dress differently. They have different jobs. So why not be choosy? And every time I would come back to Little Thunder Bay, and I love my hometown, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I'd come back to Thunder Bay, I'd look at the socially constructed reality and I questioned it, and I was like, and not in a bad way, but in a curious way of the things I had once adopted. It's like, yeah, I could do this, but I could also do something else, or I could do something else. And I became really in touch with what I wanted to do beneath, at the core of who I was. And I followed that. So that led me to living my life in somewhat of, I'd say, like somewhat of an extraordinary way. Like a lot of the experiences I've had, I've checked off, completed so many of my bucket lists. So like list upon list upon list. I'm like, I have not waited till I'm going to die or waited till the one day syndrome. So many people I see stuff, or one day.
Oh, yeah.
No, take those things that light you up and bring them into today. And then as you go through them and you do them, you're going to grow, you're going to expand, and you're going to be standing on top of a new like mountain. And you're going to look around and you're going to say, okay, what's possible? What's next? And through that evolution, so many people on the outside kind of saw me and they're like, listen, I doubted you before. I didn't think you could go and do all these things, but you're proving me wrong. You're proving us wrong. I just want to know how. So very naturally, people sort of gravitated to my journey and gravitated me. And I ended up sort of internally being called to help hold space to guide other people to take their leaps of faith towards what lights them on, their soul on fire, and then move in that space. So that's how I ended up getting into coaching.
I love that. I absolutely love that story. Like that whole journey sounds absolutely amazing, like magical. And yeah, I mean, I love to travel too and has certainly done lots of travels, but not 60 countries. So I'm super envious of that. I'm going to need to pick your brain about travel at some point.
And the funny thing is, Kim, it's like the more you see, the more you realize there's more to see. It's almost like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. It's like with traveling, I found it's like you're like, wow, there's so many other places. So,
Oh, exactly. Well, I remember when I was doing a lot of traveling, started really stretching out and traveling, solo to start with, and then with my, now husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like family members would say, when are you going to get this travel thing out of your system? And we were both like, never. Like we're not, it's not the kind of thing that we're looking to get out of our system. So yeah.
And I love that you highlight that because that's really a mindset point. It's like that box, right? So it's like, oh, when you're going to check that box, but it's not. And I think like the journey of life is a matter of like letting go of the boxes and being so present in your moment and following your heart and what lights you up. And when you do that, you're like, no, there are no boxes to check. Like this is just what inspires me. And I'm going to follow maybe travel or maybe this passion project or maybe, this business, whatever it may be for you. I'm going to follow this for as long as I'm motivated and curious. And then maybe one day I won't want to go on that trip, but that's okay. It's not like it's a box that I'm checking just for sakes of checking it.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And it's so easy to get sucked into all those like societal expectations and the box checking and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. But yeah, I'm super curious though, like to fast forward a little bit throughout that whole journey and all of those experiences that you had. What exactly are you doing now? Like where did all of this lead you? Who do you help now? What do you help them with? Tell me a little bit more about that. I know my listeners are going to be curious about that too.
Definitely. So yeah, so I am, like I had said earlier, I'm an intuitive mindset coach. I can basically help anybody who's ready to listen to their intuition and who wants to be guided, like into hearing their little voice and, live with more passion and more purpose in their life too. But for me, it really started, I knew I was meant to serve people, but I didn't necessarily know what that had looked like. So I actually started with launching a podcast, and the podcast was sort of my stepping stone to get into coaching. And with it, it's whenever I coach or speak to anybody, like even you and I right now, I always look at life like it's a co-collaboration. There's you, there's me, and then there's the universe. So there's life underneath supporting us, and whatever is meant to come through will. And so with my coaching clients, I approach it the same way. It's like one-to-one. It's they bring whatever's active and alive in their life in this moment. You bring it to the table. I'm there holding my space, holding a clear reflection for them. And together we're going in and doing the deeper inner work to release them of any blocks, any limiting beliefs, any fears. And from that space of freedom, of letting go of the things that don't serve you, and that space, creating a life beyond what you think is possible. So with it's actually on point with what I was talking to one of my clients about this morning. We were talking about goal setting, and she's like, 2022, I really want to go after my goals. I really want to, but she was coming at it from like almost like a behavioral standpoint. She's like, I'm thinking about my year-long goal, and then I'm going to break it down into 3 months goals, and we're going to work on it that way. And I'm like, okay, that is great. I love that you're breaking it down, that we're behaviorally and mentally breaking down what you want to achieve. The biggest problem I see, and I'm going to say it's kind of a problem, but like the biggest setback I see is before that stage of goal setting, and you go and you break it down, people miss the envisioning, the imagination of what could be possible for them. So it's really, really, really important to say, like, listen, if anything were possible, imagine I was a genie. Like right now, here in this moment, I am your genie, and I'm here, and I'm going to grant you 3 wishes. If anything were possible, and if you're listening to this, I want you to think about this. If anything were possible, what would you love to achieve? And I'm a genie, and I'm here, and I'm granting you these 3 wishes. What would you love? And so when I sat with my client this morning, she like looked back at me because she had these behavioral like goals of like very like the goals she was thinking about. It was like she had thought about them within the realm of the limited mind. She went to what she thought was quote unquote realistic. Whereas in this moment, I was like, we're not playing with what's quote unquote realistic. We're playing with the biggest vision, your highest vision. We're playing with abundance and infinite possibilities in life. And so from that stretched place, from that place of like, okay, well, let's have fun with it. Let's get curious. Then you start opening up yourself to the flow. Then you start opening up yourself. Well, I would love to, do this, or I would love to go there. And long story short, in her session, the 3 things that she said, wish number 1, I don't want to do the 9 to 5 anymore. I don't want to feel like I'm working for someone else. I said, okay, so you want freedom? And she's like, yeah, freedom. So then we took that overall goal of freedom, and from that space of the deeper desire of freedom, broke it down in a tangible way and said, well, what would that look like to you? And then broke it down to action steps. Wish number 2, she's like, well, I really love this personal development stuff, and I've loved working with you. And I can't believe the amount of expansion I've had in the past year that I've been in your realm. I want to keep going with this. I'm like, okay, so you want growth? And she's like, yeah, I want growth. And I said, well, what does that look like to you? She's like, in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to go to Bali. I'd love to go to Bali. And, I really like Dr. Joe Dispenza. I would love to go to one of his events. I'm like, perfect. So then we broke it down. You want growth. Well, what does that look like? And how can we get granular with that? And then the third one that she'd said, she's like, love. I really, really, really want to experience and feel the deepest sense of love for myself, for my body, for a partner. I want to sink into love. And I'm like, perfect. You want love. Like she knew that one. She came in with a deeper desire. And I'm like, what does that look like? And then we kind of got curious about that. And, when I share about like what it is I do, in all honesty, I live my life in such an authentic way and pure way that when I show up with anybody, whether you're my client, whether you're listening to this podcast, whether you're, a barista at a coffee shop, whether you're someone sitting beside me at a plane, that through the reflection of the conversation, there's just there's no mask. There's an unshakable like truth within it that I firmly believe that anything is possible in life. And within holding that space and keeping myself clear, it gives permission to anybody who comes into this realm, permission to let go of their armor and to dream and to get curious about and to, unapologetically pursue the same.
Mm. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I mean, that totally resonates with me. And because I mean, exactly when you use that word permission, that's exactly it. So many of us just don't give ourselves permission to really think in those big picture, really expansive kinds of ways and just stay in the realm of practical, in the realm of what we can conceive as being possible. So I love that, I mean, what amazing work that you do, that you help people stretch beyond and really consider that anything is possible. And from that place, what do you want to create for your life? I absolutely love that.
Mm-hmm. And it's layered, right? So when it comes to coaching per se, like there's different layers of the body. There's the somatic, which is like what your body's actually holding, the sensations in the body. Emotional, which is your emotions. Mental, what are the stories that are playing in your head? Behavioral, which is the actions you're actually taking on a daily, like your morning rituals, your routines, and then the unconscious. So it's really, really, really important to honor all parts of yourself. And another thing I see is that oftentimes people will like go really into the mental or they'll go really into the behavioral, but then they're missing the other layers of themselves. And until you honor all parts of it and kind of do the deeper inner work on all 5 layers, you'll find that you'll grow and you'll stretch, but then you'll be pulled back, and you may find you're constantly like having to work hard or having to go against different things. And it's because somewhere within your journey, there's probably blocks on different levels. And so, hiring a coach, working with a coach or working with someone who's, able to hold that space and help you not give you permission, but help you realize that you can give yourself permission and then hold space for you to kind of go in and do that deeper inner work. There's a sense of freedom and possibility that comes within that like as you learn it, Kim, and as you know it, you stretch beyond where you are and you'll never go back. It's like you will have the ways of being with you for the rest of your life because you know that it's true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So, as you know, my listeners, for the most part, they're all health and wellness coaches at various stages of growing their businesses. And certainly what I have noticed in interacting with the women in my community and with my clients and students is that a lot of them have a very loud, mean girl in their heads, a very persistent inner critic. And I know that this is an area that you are really passionate about, Samantha. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what this means. Like, what does it mean to have a mean girl in your head?
I absolutely love it. So when I take it from the movie Mean Girls, because there's just like that girl who's like, who just can be kind of a bitch. Like she's just like, what the heck, like why? And until we realize that she's playing up there on repeat over and over and over again, it's like we won't even realize the constraints that we're under, or the box that we're in with her. So like I said, there's the different layers of the body, and the mean girl really goes to the mental stories. What I like to say is that this girl, this part of you that is telling you these things, whether it's you're not good enough, no one's gonna, you're gonna fail, nobody's gonna listen to, who do you think you are? Whatever story she has on repeat, what's important is that to understand is that she is not saying it from a place of hurting you. She's actually saying it from a place of trying to keep you safe. So the first thing I want anybody who this resonates and you find that you have a really mean inner critic and you're constantly finding you're beating yourself up and you're your own worst enemy in a way, I want you to be aware of the narrative. What is it that she's saying? And I say she because it's not that you're saying it. It's not that because who you are, your essence is expansive. Your essence is whole. Your essence of who you are at your core is full of possibilities. This is just that mean girl, that little part of you that may be in the driver's seat of your life and running the show, but that's okay. We're aware of her now. What is it that she's saying? Because when you slow things down and you actually hear the stories, I'm not good enough, you're not worthy, maybe like even you said the health and wellness industry, it could even be really mean to the body. You're unhealthy, you're fat, you're this, you're that, like whatever, you're overweight. Oh, you're chubby, like, oh, your skin, like whatever it is, like she can be really, really harsh. Slow things down, see what she's saying. And then from that place, really question whether or not that narrative is true. So the first key to any transformation is awareness. The next one is acceptance. And it's really going to that place of like, is it true that I'm not good enough? Like, yes or no? Well, no. Well, what happens when you believe these thoughts that you're not good enough? I go on these fits of judging myself. I close myself off. I procrastinate. I go and eat a tub of ice cream and just like hide in my room, like whatever it is that you do, and how does that make you feel? How does that affect you? How does it affect the people in your lives? So you bring awareness to the unconscious patterns that you're going through. And then you really question and you sit with whether or not they're serving you. And what would life look like if you were to actually let those stories go? Oh, well, and then from that place of acceptance, of not judging her, of realizing that she's just trying to keep you safe and trying to keep you comfortable, letting it go and then choosing differently. When you approach the mean girl from a place of like being curious and like, why are you saying these things? Let me pull out the deeper message and the meaning behind this and go back to realize the root, the limiting story that caused it. All of a sudden there's the freedom in that, and you won't be followed, or she won't be as aggressive in your mind moving forward. And so when it comes to her message, like what she's saying, chances are the subconscious mind, it's developed between the ages of 1 to 7. So there's likely these patterns that you innocently adopted between the ages of 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 or like 2 to 8 that have been playing as patterns in your life over and over and over and over again. And you may see them projected into your life in different situations. And until you slow things down enough and go and do the root work to release the limiting belief once and for all, it's going to literally follow you to the grave and come up in different ways. And the reason why life is showing you these examples of where you're feeling like you're not good enough, or feeling like doors are slamming in your face, or feeling like things aren't working out, is because it's actually just trying to reflect and show you the energy that you're carrying within so that you can go and release it so you can go to your next level of abundance. So that's my perspective about it. The mean girl's actually our friend. She's just, she's meant to be in the backseat and she's not meant to be driving your car. She's there for information to help you get more freedom in your life.
I love that. And I especially love the piece about, of course, awareness is our first step, but I really love that you've got that acceptance piece in there too, because I think that what can happen when we all start to become aware of our stories and our limiting beliefs is that we can beat ourselves up for that, right? Like we can then be like, oh, how could I be so stupid to believe that? And why am I carrying this story? And, we then start to beat ourselves up for that. But I love what you said about how, it's just trying to keep you safe. That voice is afraid of change and is just trying to keep you comfortable. And so accept that and then question it with curiosity and then redesign, what you really do want to believe.
And with that, that's your intuition, right? And like that, like kind of goes into the work I do. I help my clients tap into their intuition to be able to like decipher the message and the codes of what their internal voice is saying. Because as you learn to communicate with your mean girl, and as you learn to like flex that muscle of having that open dialogue with her, she's actually your superpower. Like she is there to help you get to your next level. It's just a matter of being able to decipher the language. It's like, You know, all parts of you are welcome. All parts of you are there for a reason. It's just a matter of slowing things down enough, recalibrating and getting into that alignment so that you can go full force towards everything you want in life. Because I'm telling you, and Kim, you know this, like life is meant to be abundant. Life is meant to be creative. And I'm not saying that it's like it's meant to be a bouquet of roses and lollipops and sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. Not at all. It's meant to be embraced as the full experience, as the ups, the downs, the good times, the hard times. But it's all meant to, it's meant to be lived fully expressed is what I'm saying. It's not meant to be lived inside that little box that isn't serving you. So if you're feeling this and you're like, oh my God, I can relate to the suffocating feeling and being in the box, let me be somebody on the outside to tell you that this box actually doesn't exist and you're putting yourself in your own box. And it's just a matter of bringing down those walls, letting things go, trusting your intuition. And at that place, I never could have thought that day in that car in Thunder Bay when I was a realtor that I was going to be traveling to 65 countries. I never would have even imagined that that was possible. And yet there it was. And even now, like I look around at my life and I'm like living my cutest life here in Montreal. And I'm sometimes think like, how did I even get here? Like, what the heck? Like, because 6 months ago or 10 months ago, I was actually living in the Grenada in the Caribbean, in a different partnership, in a different life. Like I was living on the exterior, a different life. And I'm like, it's crazy when you actually surrender and you let go of the grip of what could be possible, the way that life can truly blossom.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Yeah. We are unfortunately just about out of time, Samantha, because this has been such a pleasure. I mean, I could seriously talk to you forever. And I do want to hear, all your details in terms of where listeners can go to connect with you. But before we do that, I just, want to give you a chance for any final words of wisdom for our listeners out there who really do, they're feeling this pull right now. They really do want to step into a bigger life and pursue a new calling, but, struggling under that self-doubt and their inner critic and all those things. Just one final nugget of wisdom, perhaps.
It's normal. It's totally normal. And as you hear me sharing my story, and Kim, if you're hearing Kim every week with the podcast, like I want you to know that every single guest that she's had, who I am, where she is, we've all been there. So really know that where you are in your journey is exactly where you're meant to be. And whatever that little voice is pulling you to, whatever that inner calling is, like I sincerely hope and sincerely encourage you to create space with it, to listen, to get curious, just remain curious about life and what could be possible, of what is beyond that box. Because I'm telling you, there's a life beyond your wildest dreams waiting for you, and you fully deserve to be living it. And last thing I just want to say, and it's not to judge where anybody is, there's a piece about just being grateful for where you are and also, claiming the vision and allowing yourself to grow in ways that beyond, like I said, the limited mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. What a perfect note to end on. That's amazing, Samantha. Like I said, before we go, where can listeners go to learn more about you and connect with you?
Definitely. So I'm super active on Instagram. I post there all of the time at Samantha Ruberto, Ruberto. I have a number, I just share my life so openly and vulnerably there. So definitely, come in, say hi. I would love to hear what you think about the episode. I have different programs as well for helping, depending on what stage you're at, helping you sort of let go and doing the deeper inner work. So reach out to me. I'm super passionate about igniting and reigniting the world one person at a time. So don't be shy. I think actually too, Kim, I'd love to offer your audience. I do have a beautiful guided meditation that will help your audience connect to that vision and connect to that highest self. So I'll make sure that I send that so that we can post it with the episode too. So feel free to go get that. It'll be completely free as a gift from me to you guys, just because I appreciate you taking the time and creating the space in your life to, honor this journey.
That's amazing. I love that. Yes, we will put all of those details in the show notes so people can find it nice and easily. And thank you so much for that generous gift. I love guided meditation. So I am going to definitely download that and listen to that myself too.
It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Okay, very cool. Have an amazing day, Samantha. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, so there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I would love to know what your big takeaway or aha moment was from this episode. I want you to find me and Samantha on Instagram and let us know. Okay, that is a wrap for today. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you are even considering joining us inside the Wellness Coach Academy, I want you to add your name to the wait list so you don't miss the opportunity when we open the doors to enrollment very soon. Okay, as always, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, if you enjoyed this episode and you're excited to learn even more about how to pursue a career as a health and wellness coach, I would love to invite you to attend my free online class called How to Chart a Path to Your Dream Career as a Wellness Coach: The 3 Secrets for Stepping into a Meaningful New Career Without Wasting Time or Money. This class is especially for women who are interested in becoming wellness coaches and building a freedom-based business, but aren't sure how to get there and what to do first. Inside this workshop, I'll be teaching you the 3 biggest myths about health and wellness coaching that will hold you back and what the truth is instead. And I will also teach you the most important thing that you need to do to get transformative results for your clients, which will enable you to build a profitable business as a wellness coach and step into this incredible career. So if that sounds like something that you need to attend, then I invite you to grab a spot in this class. Head over to drkimfoster.com/become a coach, and that's where you can reserve your seat. All the info is on that page, everything you need to know, and you can just go ahead and choose the time that works for you. And then I will see you there.